in Philadelphia, everybody hurts. Mike Fisher reporting from Frisco, where Dallas Cowboys are leaving DFW to head to Baltimore. Cowboys at 3-8, taking on a Ravens team featuring Des Bryant now that is 6-5, but they are reeling and trying to get it fixed. Meanwhile, nobody's reeling quite like the Eagles in the NFC East, where everybody still has a crack at it, including the suddenly red-hot Giants. The Eagles still have a crack at it, but also have cracks. Their biggest crack is at quarterback, where everybody hurts. That is to say, if you watched that game, you saw the Eagles go to Green Bay and have another quarterback disaster with Carson Wentz, who has lost his mojo. That's the best possible way that I can explain it. There are questions about him in the building. There's a long time standing issue of questions about him in the locker room. I just don't think that that he brings people together as a rallying guy the way traditionally you'd love a quarterback to be. Traditionally you'd love a quarterback to do, which is going to bring us back to Dak Prescott here in a minute. Is Jalen Hurts, the rookie from Oklahoma, second-round pick in Philadelphia, is he a better quarterback than Carson Wentz on paper? He certainly is not. Carson Wentz was a top of the first-round pick, is still young, and has NFL experience. Jalen Hurts is smallish, with a second-round pick, and has no experience. He got a chance to kind of dip his toe into the water the last couple weeks as we sit here on Monday with the Eagles openly debating what they're going to do at quarterback in Week 14. Coach Doug goes on the WIP radio on Monday morning and says he's undecided. And as our friend Ian Rappaport of NFL Network pointed out, if you announce you're undecided about what you're going to do with Carson Wentz, that's not a good sign for Carson Wentz. And here's the issue in Philadelphia as it relates to the issue in Dallas. The Cowboys quarterback situation right now with Andy Dalton is not particularly special. He hasn't established that it's special. They have the win at Minnesota, and then they have yet another loss to Washington. Washington hasn't treated Andy Dalton very well. Andy Dalton does have a history in Baltimore as a member of the Bengals, of course, over the course of a decade. He played them a lot. In fact, his record, relatively speaking, because Baltimore's been a good program and Cincinnati a mediocre one, Andy Dalton's record lifetime against the Ravens is 8-8. And as I always say, it's an 8-8 league, so there's nothing particularly wrong with that. And of course, when the Cowboys first signed Andy Dalton, they thought he would help Dak Prescott navigate his way around that division, like in meeting rooms and stuff. Instead, Dalton's going to have to navigate his way around that Ravens defense, long vaunted, and we'll see if it still deserves to be vaunted on national TV on Tuesday night. But here's the Wentz-Dak difference. Dak Prescott, who pops his head into the building here once in a while and does his rehab here and goes and says hi in the quarterback room once in a while, whatever. Dak Prescott shows up at Cowboy practice late last week and lifts up the building, even though he's still on a crutch. Everybody else lifted up. From his sheer presence, you can debate if you want to whether or not, I want to pay Dak $35 million to be a quarterback. And I'd come back to you and say, that's fine. And then I'm going to pay him an extra $5 because he's Dak. The confidence that he gives the people around him, the faith that they have in him, the commitment that they have to him and he to them. Hopefully, by the way, that'll work out next year when we enter franchise tag time again and long-term contract debate and the Cowboys and Dak do right by each other, which to me now clearly is a $40 million a year deal. Just got to figure out the years. Dak, by the way, is a year closer to where he was to the big TV contract that will cause everybody's contracts to explode. Hopefully they'll come up with some sort of a compromise. The Cowboys, of course, wanted to do 5 years last summer. He wanted to do 4, and instead they ended up doing 1. Not great. And then, of course, Dak Prescott gets hurt, and you don't get to see any of it, hardly, on the field. I think that absence has made the heart grow fonder for Dak. I think watching guys who aren't Dak Prescott try to engineer success in the Cowboys offense, even with all the injuries and all the problems. I think that's probably helped establish, maybe in the Joneses' mind, maybe in your mind, that Dak Prescott is special enough to not just think that some bus driver is going to go run this thing. And that's what Andy Dalton is, a really good bus driver. Maybe if everything was fine injury-wise, we Cowboys might be winning and we'd be able to say he's the league's best bus driver. But none of that is happening right now for Dallas, obviously. But compare, instead of Dalton to Dak, compare Wentz to Dak. In that locker room, when Coach Doug looks around and tries to figure out, what should we do? What gives us the best chance to win? Who's got the most talent? What do we have the most invested in? Because that's part of this. That's a contract extension for Wentz that doesn't even kick in till next year. And you're not going to just cut $59 million worth of player. That I don't think. That doesn't make much sense. And then the other factor, and the Cowboys have experience with this, and you do too, if you remember back to Dak Prescott's rookie year. Who's got more talent? Who do we have more invested in? Who can help us win this week? All that stuff. Whose mind do we not want to lose? Because if you bench Carson Wentz, you might lose him. He already does not appear to be mentally, psychologically, emotionally strong. I think that's fair. I think that's a fair, from afar analysis. So do you lose him if you bench him? And is it worth it if you go and win games with the old Sooner, young Sooner, Jalen Hurts? Here was the Cowboys' answer in Dak's rookie year. That was Tony Romo's job. The Joneses love Tony Romo. Tony Romo named his third son Jones. The address of the Cowboys headquarters, and I haven't even asked anybody why this is. They built their own facility. They could have given it whatever address they want. They own that little neighborhood. Do you know what the address is? Okay, back at Valley Ranch, the address was 1 Cowboys Parkway. Again, you got to name the city, you got to name the street, Cowboys Parkway. It's your street. And you naturally put 1. The address at the new facility here at the Star is 9. 9. Is that because it's next to building number 7 and across the street from building number 8, and 4 houses down there's a number 1, and then a 3, and then a 5, and then a 7, and then a 9, and then across the street there's a 2, and a 4, and a 6, and an 8, and a 10? No, there's nothing across the street from the 9. I don't know this. Do you think it's possible that the Joneses named their street address at the Star 9 because that's the Joneses' favorite all-time quarterback? I'm going to ask. But that sounds right? That year, you had Tony Romo hurt, of course, and fighting to come back. You had rookie Dak Prescott coming from nowhere, and they're winning 10 games in a row, as I recall. And Jason Garrett had a decision to make. Jason Garrett, who also very close with Tony Romo. And this decision, at least for a time, ruined their relationship. Certainly even now, their relationship isn't what it was. They used to be traveling buddies. Hey, let's go to a University of North Carolina basketball game. Hey, let's go to Las Vegas. Witten and Romo and Miles, and later DeMarco and Garrett. Let's go hang out like pals. Let's go to each other's weddings. Well, that went away. I don't think Jason Garrett goes to Tony Romo partying and weddings anymore. Because Garrett made a tough decision that, based on what was going on at the time, was the right decision. He measured the temperature of the locker room. And the locker room, even though Tony Romo was a better player than Dak Prescott in 2016, that's indisputable. That locker room believed in the kid. The locker room rallied around the kid. Maybe in part because Tony Romo wasn't the kind of personality at that point in his career that was having guys around him. In fact, famously, Tony Romo threw a party that year at his house, and a bunch of teammates told me, who'd been teammates with him for 2, 5, 6 years, that was pretty cool. I'd never been to his house before. That's because Tony Romo's brand of leadership wasn't that. Dak Prescott's was and is. Everybody's been to Dak's house in Prosper. Everybody except me. But pre-COVID, if it wasn't for COVID, that'd be one of the get-together places for this group, and will be again, and has been to some degree. So Garrett said we're sticking with Dak because that's what the locker room wanted. That's what the problem is going to be now in Philadelphia. Do you go with the guy you've invested in, or do you go with the guy who the locker room probably wants? That's Wentz versus Hurts. All I know is this. The Cowboys are more inspired by Dak Prescott on a crutch, not playing, than the Eagles are inspired by having Carson Wentz on the field. In Frisco, Fish, out.